Something very strange happened to me this evening, and I want to share you a small video that somebody sent on to me this evening.
At whose command we celebrate these mysteries. For on the night he was betrayed, he himself took bread and, giving you thanks, he said the blessing. He broke the bread and gave it to his disciples, saying, "Take this, all of you, and drink from it, for this is the chalice of my blood, the blood of the new and eternal covenant, which will be poured out for you and for all for the forgiveness of sins. Do this in memory of me." In a similar way, when supper was ended, he took the chalice and, giving you thanks, he said the blessing, gave the chalice to his disciples, saying, "Take this, all of you, and drink from it, for this is the chalice of my blood, the blood of the new and eternal covenant, which will be poured out for you and for all for the forgiveness of sins. Do this in memory of me."
Now, I'm not doing this video to bash the priest involved, because everybody makes mistakes and have a bad day, and it's just to draw us awareness as lay Catholics to our faith, to the holy sacrifice, the Mass, because the words of consecration do matter. And this is an education for us laity. Even before the priest was saying the words of consecration last Saturday, there was an interior voice telling me, speak up, speak up. But I was really confused about what was happening to me interiorly and what the priest was saying. And I didn't grasp. It was a very strange Mass, to be honest. But anyway, if you look at any missal, you're going to see the words of consecration in capital letters. Yeah, let me see them there. Words of consecration in capital letters. There. And there. These words you don't change at all. Priests are usually trained to say the black and do the red. By saying the black, it means they're in the missal that they have on the altar, there will be words in black and words in red, and the words in red are the doing things, when to bless, and the words in black are what you say. And these are very important. This prayer used to be called the Oratio periculosa. And if you look at that video, the priest said both consecrations of the bread. He said it wrong because he was using the words of the chalice. And then the chalice, he was saying it wrong as well because he read out something else that isn't in the Irish Missal, in the English Missal, which is an exact translation of the Latin, which is it goes back to actually the Greek. For example, with the chalice, he said for all instead of for many. In Latin, it's pro multis. In Greek, it's peripollon. If you look at the Aramaic or the Syriac, it doesn't say for all either. And so there's no tradition in the church for that translation, which came out, it seems, just after Vatican II, then was reversed to correct it. And we can look at when we look at the church and the crisis in the church, all of this playing around with the liturgy isn't doing much good for the church, and as I said, the words that we use are important in our sacred liturgies, and this is more for us, an education for us Catholics more than anything else. Other things in the Mass, the bishop wasn't remembered in the Mass. Our local bishop is Bishop Francis. So when it comes to remembering, when you say, "Remember, Lord, your church spread throughout the world and bring her to the fullness of charity, together with with Francis, our Pope, and Francis, our Bishop, and all the clergy." That's all you need to say. What was said at that Mass with Francis, our apostolic administrator, and John, our bishop, or something like this. It was very strange. Whereas we just need to say, we don't need to overcomplicate it. Even though he is technically an apostolic administrator, he is in fact a bishop, an archbishop, and you just say with Francis, our bishop. And it's just important because this is an ancient tradition in the church, in the canon, where you commemorate the local bishop, very important. Even the SSPX, they do that. And they continue to do that, and they continue to mention the Pope and the local bishop in the canon. Really important. No need to confuse the faithful by saying, and with our apostolic administrator Francis. No, with our bishop. Just don't complicate it. I know some people don't like the changes in the structures in the diocese in the church, but these changes need to happen. We need to reform. We need to renew. And again, I think the old Mass was very beautiful, because in the old Mass they had the canon, Eucharistic Prayer 1, the canon and the consecration printed on a card right in front of the priest on the altar. And you know, when you were consecrating, you were looking at the words of consecration in Latin: hoc est enim corpus meum quod pro vobis tradetur. It was kind of very clear, and it was kind of drummed into them, these words in Latin, and it didn't leave any scope to change the words in Latin or to change the consecration. And sadly, in the new Mass, this is not the case, and we've become somewhat lax. I've heard weird consecrations other places in Ireland, and we lift up the chalice like the McCarthy Cup, one priest said. I kid you not, rendering the Mass completely invalid. True. So, you know, and it's up to us laity. You need to understand this, so that you go to a proper Mass. And again, I give this video with love. I don't hold any resentment against the priest. He's a very good priest, very kind priest. But there's just things in the Mass that just don't make sense. They have us kneeling during the Gloria, or at the start of the Mass they're kneeling, but they won't kneel for the Eucharist. There's one thing that when foreigners come here, that they can't understand. Well, where are you going with the kneeling and standing? And but like it's just very, very strange, the thing they have. And you know, anyway, I mean, I could go on. If there's priests at Mass, you're supposed to be ministers of the Eucharist, not lay people. Another thing, you know, the minister of the Eucharist is the priest. You don't sit down. You minister the Eucharist. I know a lot of priests think, oh no, we need to involve laity, we need to do this, but then they complain there's no vocations. Well, you've done yourself out of a job, but by not ministering the Eucharist in a way. And again, I just say this out of love for the church, but you know, in a diocese, sadly, that hasn't had vocations in many years. Maybe it would be good to foster the traditions of the church and to bring boys and young men to actually serve at Mass. You know, to bring out the incense, to bring out the candles, to put the candles each side of the gospel, to you know, there's a cross bearer. Can be done, and then, you know, you might spark some interest in the Mass with the next generation of boys that might be interested in sacred rites. But anyway, God bless you. Take care. Bye bye.